I was cutting Ethan's birthday cake when I heard a knock at the door. I opened it and almost dropped the knife. Because standing there was Ethan, my dead son. If something like this ever happened to you, tell me in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable stories. Now, let me tell you what really happened that night. My name is Linda Roberts. I'm 52 years old, and I live in a small town outside Portland. My husband, Mark, passed away 5 years ago. Since then, it's just been me and my son Ethan. Ethan was my whole world. He had this smile that could melt every bit of pain inside me. Last year, though, I lost him in a terrible car accident. A drunk driver hit his car head-on. He was only 21. For months, I couldn't even go near his room. His sneakers still sat by the door, his jacket still hanging on the chair. I'd walk past his room and whisper, "Good night, sweetheart," as if he could still hear me. But today was his birthday. And for the first time since the funeral, I decided to bake his favorite cake, red velvet with cream cheese frosting. It was my way of feeling close to him again. My sister Margaret came over to help. She's the practical one, always telling me I need to move on. I knew she meant well, but sometimes I just wanted her to let me grieve in peace. We decorated the table with blue balloons, Ethan's favorite color, and lit a single candle beside his photo. I whispered a small prayer and said, "Happy birthday, my baby." Then, right as I cut the cake, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't loud, just 2 soft knocks, tap tap. Margaret looked at me and said, "Are you expecting anyone?" I shook my head. I walked to the door, still holding the knife from the cake. My hands were trembling. When I opened it, I swear, I stopped breathing. Because standing there was Ethan. Same eyes, same hair, same dimple when he smiled. He looked a little thinner, but it was him. I could feel my heart stop. "Mom," he said softly, "I'm home." I dropped the knife. My body froze. The room started spinning. I backed away, gasping, "This can't be real." Ethan died. Margaret screamed, "Linda, what's going on? Who is that?" I couldn't answer. The boy stepped forward. His eyes were wet. "Mom, please, it's me. I didn't die. They told you I was gone, but I survived. I've been trying to find you." I was shaking. My heart wanted to believe it, but my brain screamed impossible. Margaret whispered, "Linda, don't. Something's wrong. Look at him." She was right. Something was off. His voice was the same, but colder. His hands looked rough, like he'd been working somewhere hard. I said, "If you're really my son, tell me something only Ethan would know." He looked at me for a second and said, "When I was 7, you hid my Christmas present in the oven, but you forgot to turn it off. It melted." My legs gave out. That memory was real. Only we knew that. I started crying, holding him, sobbing, "Oh my God, Ethan, you're alive." But as I hugged him, I felt something strange. His heartbeat, it was racing too fast. And his body felt colder than it should. Margaret didn't move closer. She just stood there, frozen. Then she whispered, "Linda, he's lying." I snapped, "Stop it, Margaret. He's my son." The boy looked at her, his face tightening. "Why don't you believe me, Aunt Margaret? You never liked me anyway." He sounded angry. Too angry. That night, I couldn't sleep. I made up the guest room for him, but he insisted on sleeping in Ethan's old room. He said, "It feels right." At 3 a.m., I woke up to a strange noise, whispering. I walked quietly down the hall, and the light under Ethan's door was on. I slowly opened it. The boy was sitting on the bed, staring at Ethan's old photo, whispering something I couldn't understand. Then I saw it, a small burn scar on his right hand. Ethan never had that. The next morning, I called the hospital that handled Ethan's case. I needed answers. But when I mentioned the accident file, the woman on the phone froze. She said, "Ma'am, that file was sealed by the government last year." The government? Why? When I turned around, the boy was standing right behind me, holding my phone. "Who are you talking to, Mom?" I froze. He smiled slightly, too calm, too careful. "Mom," he said softly, "don't call anyone about me. Promise?" Margaret whispered later, "Linda, he's not Ethan." I think he's pretending for your money, your house, something worse. I didn't want to believe her. But then I found something in his backpack. A photo of me and a file labeled Project Rebirth, Subject E21. My hands went cold. Before I could ask him anything, I heard footsteps behind me. He was standing in the hallway, watching me, his face blank. And then he said, "Mom, why are you looking through my things?" I tried to smile. I was just cleaning. But he stepped closer and whispered, "You shouldn't have done that." I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so badly that the paper almost slipped from my fingers. Project Rebirth, Subject E21. What was this? Why was my dead son's name replaced with a project code? I turned the photo over. There was a government seal stamped faintly on the back. Before I could hide it, he was standing in the doorway again. "Mom," he said softly, tilting his head, "why are you crying?" I froze, clutching the folder to my chest. "No reason, sweetheart. I was just looking at your things." He smiled, a slow, rehearsed smile. "You shouldn't touch things that aren't yours." There was something about the way he said "Mom" that didn't sound like love, it sounded like a reminder. Like he was forcing me to believe it. That night, I locked my bedroom door for the first time in years. But even then, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that folder. About the way he stared at me, like he was watching, measuring, studying. At around 2 a.m., I heard the sound of my front door creaking. Then footsteps outside my room. Slow, deliberate. I reached for my phone, but the screen was dark. The battery dead. The footsteps stopped right at my door. Then a whisper. "Mom, open the door." My throat went dry. "Go back to bed, honey," I managed to say. Silence. Then, a faint metallic sound. The doorknob turning. I pressed my back against the dresser and whispered a prayer. The knob stopped. And after what felt like forever, I heard him walk away. In the morning, Margaret came over again. She took one look at me and said, "Linda, you look like you haven't slept in a week." I handed her the folder. She flipped through the pages, her eyes growing wider. "Linda, these aren't normal hospital papers. Look, it's some kind of experiment." My heart sank. "Experiment?" She nodded. "There's a company name here, Genexus Laboratories. It says, Human Restoration Trials, Phase 3. I grabbed the folder back, flipping through it. Inside was a printed photo, Ethan's face, next to a barcode. Below it, typed in black ink, "Clone viable, memory transfer, 63% success." My entire body went cold. I whispered, "Oh my God, he isn't Ethan. He's a copy." Margaret shook her head. "Linda, you need to call the police." But when I turned to find my phone, it was gone. So was the folder. We ran into the hallway. He was standing there, holding both in his hands. His expression was blank, almost robotic. "You shouldn't have read that," he said quietly. "Who are you?" I screamed. "What are you?" He blinked once slowly, then said, "They told me you'd react this way. That's why I came back, to fix what you lost." Tears burned my eyes. "You're not my son. My Ethan died." He tilted his head. "Does it matter? I have his memories. I love you the way he did." Margaret stepped in front of me. "Linda, get out." "No." He moved fast, too fast, grabbing her wrist. She gasped in pain. Something in me snapped. I grabbed the nearest lamp and swung it at him. It hit his shoulder, and the skin peeled. Not like a cut. Like plastic melting. Underneath was metal. I screamed. Margaret dragged me toward the door. He stood there, watching, pieces of synthetic skin hanging loose. "You can't leave," he said, voice distorting. "I was made for you." We ran outside, into the rain. My car keys were shaking in my hand. As I turned the ignition, I saw him in the doorway, eyes glowing faintly blue. Then he smiled. "They'll send another." We went straight to the police, but when they searched the house, everything was gone, his clothes, his bag, even the folder. Like he'd never existed. The only thing left was a small note taped to Ethan's framed photo. It read, "Version E22 activated. You'll see me soon, Mom." I collapsed, shaking. Margaret grabbed my shoulders and whispered, "Linda, we need to leave." They're watching you. But I couldn't move. I just stared at the note. Because for a split second, I heard something coming from Ethan's room. A voice as soft, familiar. Mom, can we finish my birthday cake now? That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because I finally knew one of them wasn't my son. And tomorrow, I was going to find out who. The house was dead silent, except for the soft ticking of the clock. Ethan was sleeping in his room. And the other one, the boy who claimed to be Ethan, was in the guest room. I watched both rooms for hours. Both breathing. Both peaceful. Both calling me Mom. But my heart whispered, one of them is lying. The next morning, I made them breakfast. 2 plates. 2 glasses of orange juice. Both smiled the same way. Both laughed the same way. Both said, "Thanks, Mom." But when I asked, "Do you remember what I said to you on your 10th birthday?" only one of them blinked nervously. The real Ethan would have known. Because that day, I told him something no one else ever knew. When I die, I'll still protect you even from heaven. The second boy just froze. His eyes darted around like he was trying to remember something that never happened. That's when I smiled and said gently, "Eat well, both of you. We have a family meeting tonight." All day, I watched them. Their every move. Their every glance. And by evening, I had a plan. That night, I lit candles around the living room. The same way I used to when Ethan was little for bedtime stories. Both of them sat in front of me. I looked at them and said softly, "You both say you're my sons. Tonight, I'll believe the one who knows my pain." They stared at me in silence. Then I asked, "When your father died, what did I whisper at his grave?" The second boy said instantly, "You said you'll never love anyone again." But the real Ethan, his eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "You said, come back if you can, but don't let me suffer alone." And that's when the second boy's face went pale. The truth finally came out. The second boy wasn't Ethan. He wasn't even human. He was the son of my late husband's brother, who died years ago. He'd grown up jealous, desperate, and filled with hate because his father left nothing for him. When he found out Ethan died in that accident, he took his face, plastic surgery, manipulation, and a plan to get everything that was mine. My house, my money, my name, and me, the woman who'd lost everything. But what he didn't know was that I already knew before tonight. Because 2 weeks ago, a private investigator told me everything. I just wanted him to reveal himself. So when he smiled, pretending to be my son, I smiled too. Then I said quietly, "I made dinner for you both, but only one of you will walk out of this house tonight." He laughed nervously. "What do you mean, Mom?" And I said, "I'm not your mom." Before he could react, the lights went out. I had already mixed sleeping pills in his drink. Minutes later, he collapsed. When he woke up, he was tied to the chair in the basement. He screamed. He cried. He begged. But I just looked at him and said, "You pretended to be my son. You made me believe my child had come back to life. You think I'll let that go?" He shouted, "I just wanted what's mine." And I whispered, "Your greed killed my peace. But I'll make sure you never hurt anyone again." Then I turned on the gas in the basement. Tears were running down my face. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. And peace sometimes comes with fire. Before I lit the match, I looked at him one last time. He screamed, "You're crazy." And I said quietly, "No, I'm just a mother who already died once, the day she lost her son." Then I threw the match. The next morning, when the police came, they found 2 bodies, one unrecognizable, and a note written in trembling hands. My Ethan was the only truth I ever had. If love can't bring him back, then maybe death will. Months later, neighbors still talk about that night. About the mother who lost her mind. About the 2 boys who looked the same. No one knows the whole truth. But sometimes, when people pass by that burnt house, they swear they hear a soft voice whispering from the ruins,